All right, Hans, I want you to react to this. One of the things about Maha, and Secretary Kennedy takes more heat on this than almost anybody, probably than anybody, is uh, people say, well, they're not following the science. It's all mumbo jumbo, all conspiracy theories. Here's this is number 14. This is the vice president addressing that notion of the notion of something's not supported by science.
Yes. Out of that, or you get destroyed.
That's right.
And now we're working for a president who just takes a bulldozer to Overton windows and does that, like, shocks us every day, and then we go, okay, well.
That's exactly right. That is a good summary of Donald J. Trump, is that he takes a bulldozer to Overton windows every single day. But it had to happen. It just had to happen. And if you look at so many of the things that are happening on the public health side, I mean, one of the criticisms that Bobby will always get, and I always think it's such bullshit, excuse my language, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that. It's probably covering, I apologize to everybody who's watching live on Fox News. Hopefully they were able to bleep that out. But anyway, is sometimes there's this attack where people say, well, this or that conclusion is not supported by the science, or this or that conclusion is a conspiracy theory. And science, as practiced in its best form, is that if you disagree with it, then you ought to criticize it, and you ought to argue it against it, but you can't shut down the debate. And that really is, if you look at all of the big public health debates that we've had in this country over the last 20 or 30 years, it doesn't bother me that they disagreed with something that I believed, or disagreed with something you believed, or any of you. It's that they tried to silence the people who were saying things that were outside the Overton window. And as we found out the hard way over the last few years, it was very often the people who were outside the Overton window who were actually right, and all the experts were wrong.
Yeah.
Hans, what do you think of his intellectual political relationship with Maha compared to Donald Trump?
I will say just three broad points, and I'll try to make them specific, though. We live in a time where authenticity is going to be the most important currency in political campaigns. That's the first point. Anger is typically authentic. I can fake be angry with my kids when I'm reprimanding them, but for the most time, anger is authentic, and populism is typically fueled by anger. So you take those three sort of like foundations or pillars, and he hit all three of them there. Now, to your earlier point about talking about continuing resolutions and cloture and whatnot, everyone on this call probably knows what the Overton window is, and has theories on Chesterton's fence or Chesterton's hedge as well. But towards the end there, he was a little wonky. But my main take on that, and my own view, is that we need a commission to look at what we got right and what we got wrong on COVID. I still don't know. I don't know why there isn't a commission. It was clearly a public health failure. A lot of things didn't work, and no one can tell me what we got right, when, and wrong, and just politicized, and I don't even know what to believe. So I'm pro-commission, not Erskine Bowles pro-commission, but pro-commission. But my overwhelming take there is that we just saw a very authentic and angry person, and it seems like that may be what the country wants, or at least the party wants, heading into 2028.
Super well said and interesting. Alex, thoughts on what Hans said?
I think Hans is exactly right. I think that is authenticity, whether it's genuine, rehearsed, practiced authenticity, or the real thing. It certainly comes across that way. I think he did a fantastic job.
Is he like anybody in politics who you guys have covered or known, in terms of just his sort of overall oeuvre, just like his skills? Who's he like? I'll just to show you my praise. I think he's like Trump in the sense that I can't think of an analog. There's nobody his style just seems unique. I can't even explain why that is. Like what it is. It just.
I would say, Mark, that he's Trump, but he's next gen Trump.
Yeah.
Hans' point, he is much more relatable. He's not the billionaire who can identify with the blue collar people. No, he's blue collar, no collar.
Yeah.
His way up. So and he's got a velvet glove in the iron fist. He goes into interviews and not only holds his ground, but he does it with a smile. He does it with a certain softness. So he's got some unique gifts.
Mark, was he does he remind you at all of 2000 Straight Talk Express McCain, where he knew he'd blunder sometimes, but let it rip?
That strand, that's a great parallel.
I wasn't on the
lets
bus
it
in
rip.
2000,
Yeah, for that strand,
but
but he's so much more policy oriented than Senator McCain was. Senator McCain was all rhetoric and strategy and ideas. If the closest to me, and this is high praise, and I'm not saying they're exactly the same. He's a lot like Bill Clinton. He's a lot like Bill Clinton, just so glib on so many things, and there's a thing, Hans, you're too young to know this. Sidney Blumenthal, who was a reporter and a friend of the Clintons, he talked about, it's one of the greatest insights of Bill Clinton. He said he was part of the conversation. He was part of the capital T, capital C, where national governors meetings and lunch with E.J. Dionne and going to universities and just this national conversation about ideas and about government and business and that for years Clinton had been part of that conversation, and that gave him all these contacts and all these ideas. Vance is like that to me. Like, he knows everybody. Like, you go to a think tank, they all know him. You go to, whatever. Now, Clinton spent more time in politics, so he was going to the bumfuck county, Arkansas and Florida chicken dinner. Vance was more in business, right? But he's been all over. He could go to Park Avenue, and he could go to anywhere and talk to people. CozyEarth.com for 40% off. Use the code two-way. Black Friday comes early, an opportunity to buy the sheets, the blankets, including the bubble cuddle blanket, and then the joggers, the pants that Sean loves so much. And many of you have already bought and told me how much you love them. And as I've said before, if you're a gentleman and you buy the pants, guaranteed, or your money back. Your spouse will tell you how good you look in them. All of it's super comfortable. It's viscose made from bamboo, available now. Black Friday comes early, as I said. Use the code two-way, 40% off the whole site. Blankets, towels, shirts, soft, really well made, and available now, 40% off. Go to CozyEarth.com. Use the promo code two-way. Wrap the ones you love in luxury with Cozy Earth. And for the price, you'll be surprised at how luxurious it is, I think, because it's very affordable, particularly with 40% off.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and two-way tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.